Hey guys, welcome to Etherwaves. Here we talk about beer, gear, music, and we play a set. My name is Igor.
And I'm Phil.
And I'm Teddy, and I'm really excited for our guest on today's episode, Joshua Wentz. So happy to have you here, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's our pleasure. So stoked to have you, and I think there's no other appropriate way to start this off than to talk about what we're sipping on. Because the first time I met Josh, we were at a bar, and I had seen him performing, which we'll get into that later. But let's see what we're sipping on here. Maybe we'll start with you, Josh. What are you sipping on tonight?
All right. Well, I've got two little items here. One is a good old Goose Island green line. I have to be honest, I've already had one cocktail tonight. For Valentine's Day, my wife and I got some carry out from Parachute, which is a great restaurant here in Chicago. And
Oh, hell yeah. I've been there.
oh, so good. Their cocktails are amazing. So I had this like tequila and saffron liqueur cocktail already tonight. So I thought I would take it easy with the green line. But then before we start the set, I do have a shot of Malort because you got to go with the Malort.
Yeah.
It's winter time, and that's where it's at.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Well, so happy to have you. Those are some great little sippers there. Phil, what are you drinking tonight, man?
Yeah, I got a local beer from the Weiner Beer Company, and it's called Le Tub.
Ah, yes.
Listed as a wild farmhouse ale. It's
I
got
love the citrusy taste on that one.
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a little sour.
Yeah.
Now,
But yeah.
Igor, did you have one of that brand last time?
Yes, I did.
Or maybe not last time, but the last time I saw it.
One of the
Episode
last
3.
times. One of the last times.
Yeah. The illustrations on those cans are great.
They're amazing. and if you're a cat fan, you cannot, you have to have Weiner because there's always a cat in those cans.
Very nice.
And Teddy, I think my beer is inspired by many of the beers that you've had on the podcast before. Some Pipeworks.
Yes.
Yeah. Blizzard King. So
Very nice.
We're on our way to being sponsored.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Yeah.
Well,
we're waiting, Pipeworks.
In similar news, our co-sponsor, our alcoholic co-sponsor, is making another resurgence. The Heine.
Yes.
Episode 4, I was drinking a Heine, and I had one more in the fridge. I was gonna go to the bodega, but the sidewalks aren't shoveled, and I opened the door and I was like, nope, I'm not walking through like 3 feet of snow. I got a Heine in the fridge. I'm sipping on that bad boy. So Heineken's gonna throw us some sponsorship as well. Thank you, Heineken, so much. We really appreciate the private jet.
Otherwise known as Tier 3 of David Stossberg. So viewers from Etherwaves know the tiers of my dad's, not tiers, but the levels.
I was going to say.
Upping.
This is the tiers of David Stossberg.
As well. They are also the tiers.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, if I may, I'd love to dive in a little bit to some music and stuff like that right off the bat, because I'm really excited to share something with you guys. I kept it kind of a secret. I took a picture of it, sent to you guys earlier, but I had to just show this beautiful box that I got in the mail.
Ooh.
Laraji, his triple cassette like box. It's like a box set of tapes that comes
Looks like
with
you got
this.
some foil stamping on the cover there.
Oh yeah, and he's got a nice little print in here. Some nice solid cardstock with like the explanation of what's going on, and then you got 3 tapes.
Ooh, is that
In
like
there.
nestled in some foam there?
Oh yeah.
Very cool.
It like lives in
Nice.
here. It lives in there. Real nice
Awesome.
packaging.
Teddy,
Came in the mail.
Are all 3 records piano records? Or is it
I
just one of the
haven't
3?
listened to them yet, but it is called the Piano Trilogy.
Okay.
I just got it today. Maybe I should have, if I had time, I would have listened to it beforehand. But yeah,
You're
it
just
says
endorsing it based on the design.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I haven't heard it yet, and I love buying things like that, like musically, and just kind of being like, screw it, let's just see how this goes. Um, but yeah, it says like all of these recordings are essentially a live session tracked inside of a working church in a busy part of Brooklyn.
Cool.
So
Not familiar with that artist, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So I go ahead.
I was going to say, Igor, you have kind of like a story about him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have always been a huge fan of Laraji when it comes to ambient music, especially like, more meditation oriented ambient music. Laraji has always been a big reference and a big influence on me. And I was invited to play a festival that happens in Minneapolis every winter called Drone Not Drones. It's literally 28 hours of nonstop drone music. And they have half of the stage with an artist. And during the last 5 minutes of that artist, the other artist comes in, plays together for 5 minutes until the next artist comes up, like in the last 5 minutes.
That's very cool.
The one that I played, Laraji, was one of the main events. And it started with him doing what he calls, I think it's a laugh meditation, where instead of meditating quietly, you're forced to laugh. And that, kicked off the event. And he was the main event at the first night. And I played the following morning. But it was just incredible. So it's a lot of fun, and I love him. And when I saw that he's playing the same festival as me, like, hey, that's going on my resume.
That's awesome. Actually, speaking of kind of piano stuff, I've been listening to this record, which I got a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but Nicholas Lenz is amazing. He's I first was familiar with him from Flamma Flamma, the Fire Requiem, which is kind of this operatic piece, this whole progress that he did. But the vocalists that he uses are so unique and interesting. So this collaboration with Nick Cave came from the lockdown. And basically, Nicholas Lenz wrote to Nick Cave and said, hey, will you write 12 litanies for me? And Nick said, sure. And then he immediately hung up and Googled what is a litany. And so
I'd have
it's
to do
very,
the same.
I know, me too. But the result is this really sparse kind of minimalist, almost kind of some tone poems, very minimal amount of lyrics, but it's really cool. It's very perfect for winter. It's super icy and cool. Actually, the first time I listened to side A, I was listening at 33 RPMs, and it was supposed to be 45, but it was just weird enough that I was like, this is really strange, but he's a strange guy, so I didn't really notice. But then when I flipped it over, it was very obvious that I was on the wrong speed. So I can say, listen to it in those speeds. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Speaking of piano, Phil, I think you had something to say. Chick Corea, I think that's you had a story there too, because I know that's a big loss for all piano players in the world. But
yeah, totally. Can I say one other thing though? Because I got 3 records in the mail yesterday when I was shoveling snow. I shoveled snow for 3 hours yesterday, and my mailman Jay, shout out to Jay, he's awesome, and he gave me these 3 records, and I got 2 7-inches from Mystery Circles, and they're both splits. So one of them is featuring Scott Campbell and Lookout, fantastic, and the other is featuring Akil Adam, and
he's awesome.
You know,
I love Akil. Yeah, I have one of his tapes.
Rad. And then Fossilize Me. Yeah. And this is just fantastic. And the third is one that I ordered back in September from Germany, all the way from Kreuzberg in Berlin. And it's Jocko Jacobs.
Nice.
Equilibration. And it's fantastic. She is amazing. I was really excited to get this. Been waiting for quite a while.
That's cool.
But yeah, the Chick Corea thing, devastating. And I was really fortunate to get to see him at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra in a trio format with Brian Blade on the drums and Christian McBride on the upright bass and it's just like unbelievable. I mean, just flawless musicianship and musicality and spirit, and so much energy on the stage. And I was in the part where like the choir stand, if you're at the CSO, so it's not in the main area. I don't know if it's called the gallery, but yeah, it's essentially like behind the stage. So their backs were to us, but oh my gosh, yeah, one of the best live performances I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, fantastic musicians.
I was saying to someone that Chick Corea for me will always be categorized as albums my dad had. Like the image of the album cover for Inside Out is burned in my mind as the thing that was in the records of my dad's collection. Just because it was like pre 3D graphics and just looked cool. It looked like Marble Madness. It's like crazy and awesome. But like looking more into kind of some of the statements he's made in the last couple of years, I think anyone who's a creative in any way should really both read his kind of final public message and then also kind of his, I think it's 14 kind of rules or guides to playing. They're super inspirational and stuff that's really great to keep in mind about use of space and collaborating, how you can be an effective collaborator in a group. Just really powerful stuff.
Yeah, I do. I like his music a lot. Yeah.
I feel like I might be the biggest novice with Chick Corea in the room right now, because I don't know if I've ever sat down and listened to really any of his work, which I feel like this always happens with me, where it's like there's this artist that's kind of known to everyone, and it's like it's been in the back of my mind to listen to this person and to appreciate them because they are this kind of like master of their craft and this hugely important person, an innovator, trailblazer, however you want to label it, and then they pass away, and then I'm like, damn it, all right, I need to dedicate some serious time to this person and to their life's work, kind of owe it to them for where they kind of pushed music.
Well, there's another cool thing that we should mention, since this is a Brazil America collaboration, and that is that Chick worked with Brazilian musician Airto Moreira and Flora Purim. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but
yeah, close enough.
Light as a Feather by Return to Forever is such a fantastic record, and if I were to say like start with one of his records, I might have to choose that one. But yeah, Return to Forever for me is like the one I keep going back to over and over again. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And speaking of losses, if I can mention just another name, unfortunately, Milford Graves, for the drummers in the room. Amazing jazz drummer, percussionist, very out there, very otherworldly jazz drumming, a lot of like rooted to African music, but also a lot of like vocals as part of the percussion. Like you'd have like, he'd be drumming and not singing, but doing like vocalizing the rhythms, and doing a lot of polyrhythms, a lot of like movement, and he was also very inspirational to me. I had, funny enough, I had a label that I really enjoy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with John Zorn at all, but John Zorn has a label called Tzadik, and he has 2 records on that label, and they're both 99% just drums and percussions and stuff like that. And it's just so incredible. And I had a phase where it's like all about like John Zorn and New York weird jazz and Queens and Brooklyn jazz and all that kind of stuff. So Milford Graves came up as one of those names. So I love him, and it's like same week as Chick Corea. Yeah. So it's just like 2 big hits the same week. But long live jazz, long live good musicians, and the 2 of them are stellar. So
yeah, cheers to all of that.
Well, when you brought Graves up, I found out about this movie called Full Mantis. Have you heard about it or seen it?
No, I know another movie that he's done, but not that one specifically.
Well, I guess like
Yeah.
there's so many things to say about him and about that movie and about his music and his ideas about music. And I mean, don't get started talking about like metronomes and, but he would like when people would come to his house, just one thing from that film that like really stuck out to me is like, yeah, if you're coming in, I got to get some information on you. And he would like hook up, he would like use stethoscopes or whatever and like different things to do like get like biometric data on people. So he could like literally put it up on the screen and like get readings from it. And he would use like function generators to, like bring out these melodies or these melodic like lines of sounds from biometric stuff. And I mean, he was clearly a genius. Like, I don't think it was just like a case of a madman who was just out there. Like, he was incredibly brilliant and talks a lot about like gardening, and then he'll talk about music, and then he'll go back into other, I mean, he's all over the place in a really good way.
Yeah, I mean, he played drums for Jocko Train's funeral, so that speaks volumes as to like they could have picked any drummer and they picked me for Graves. So I think
Right.
there's a lot of respect there in the industry. He's definitely, like you said, I think he is crazy but aware of his madness and in full control of his madness.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious. I've kind of been interested, and I've always kind of wanted to ask you about something. So I hope this is an appropriate time to ask.
We'll see.
But I'm still fascinated by all the projects that you do and the variants of the projects that you do. When I first met you, I saw Josh performing. Was it at Hungry Brain?
Yep. That's
Yeah,
right.
it was at Hungry Brain, and you had kind of this like very minimal setup, and I had just gotten into synths, and I was enamored by the compact setup that you had, as well as your travel case.
Which you can see part of right here. This the green level here is the bottom half of the travel case.
Yeah, and at that point, I had kind of like I was currently sprawling out all of my synths that I had recently acquired on a massive like white table. It's not much different than my setup now, except I didn't go vertical with anything. It was literally just spaghetti everywhere, sprawled out on a table. And so when I saw Josh performing, and he was getting all these textures and sounds, I was like, damn, how's that guy doing that out of this like case? And what is that case? Where do I get a case like that? So I remember after the show, I went up to Josh and I was like, hey man, like would love to grab a beer or something, like really great set. Kind of introduced myself, and I asked him where he got the case, and he's like, that's a gun case. It's a rifle case.
Yep.
Just go to any shop and get a rifle case. And I feel like you ended the night. Like I saw you outside. I was like standing outside and you were getting ready to leave. And you're like, all right, man, yeah, just get a gun case. I'll talk to you later. And that was kind of
Great advice for anyone in Chicago.
Yeah.
Get a gun case.
But from there, you and I have collaborated on a few things. We've hung out a few times and just kind of jammed a few times in person pre-pandemic, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Great memories to have. We went to that big cabin trip together with Phil, and hoping to do some more of those once things get a little more
Absolutely.
tame. But just in getting to know you a little bit, I've quickly came to realize kind of how prolific you are in the amount of not only like albums you put out, but the types of media you put out. Like you've worked on a soundtrack for a comic book, right?
Yeah. Well,
Or like an
a
accompanying
written
album?
anthology. Actually, it's not a comic book, but actually like stories.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. It's I'm thinking of like the cover of it is animated. Like it's like a
Yeah.
really beautiful.
It's a cyberpunk anthology.
Yeah, and there's a couple short stories in there, but there's a CD that comes with that.
Yeah.
That you gave me a copy of, which is a really cool thing. Could you talk a little bit about, because that's one of the more unique projects that I've ever heard anybody be a part of, and I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about that on the show.
Sure. So I have been kind of making music in various forms since like '96, and I have some friends who are also. I have a friend who's an author for Wizards of the Coast, who works in publishing, and Wizards of the Coast is like the Dungeons and Dragons imprint.
Magic the Gathering.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So this is probably I don't know when this, maybe like
It was
10 years ago or so.
Yeah, a couple years ago, we could say.
Sure. Well, so basically, my friend Jeff Lasala, who's an author, he and his brother, who's a musician, both in New York, were working on this project with a tabletop gaming company to make a soundtrack to go along with their tabletop game, which was a cyberpunk style game. And that project sort of fell through on the game side, but they had gathered all these collaborators for the music. So they then pitched the idea of, instead of a game, make a book full of short stories. So they kind of had these authors write like I think it was like 15 or so short stories, and it was kind of a back and forth whether they named the story, then the musician would write a song based on the name, and or some semblance thereof. So maybe the music came first in one instance, maybe the music was afterwards. But the end result was this book called Foreshadows, The Ghosts of Zero. And it's this kind of collection of different authors' take on the cyberpunk genre. And each one of the songs corresponds with the story. So you have some kind of noir style stories that have more of a moody thing, or then very techno, like kind of rave soundtracks. Some of the artists are really into like IDM, and I'm kind of never really very genre specific, as kind of Teddy alluded to. So I kind of went in the more like songy route, I guess you could say, soundtracky, kind of smoother vibes for that one. And I've always been a huge fan of cyberpunk. I love like William Gibson and like the Neil Stephenson cyberpunk stories and things like that. So I was actually lucky to work with one of my current collaborators, Jessica Risker, who I was supporting at the show that Teddy saw. And she did some lyrics for one of the songs, and it was just a really fun. It's really fun. I actually did the like full book layout because my background is in more design than music. But the end result is really cool. I think you can still get it online somewhere if you go to foreshadows.net, I think. This was right at the tail end of like CDs mattering to anyone. So it is kind of that cyberpunk style of like some technology that's now dead, but then you can still kind of revive it in some like lo-fi way. So it worked out that way.
Well, and you talk about kind of being into print, and you on your last full length that you put out, you had designed the entire print for that, right? With kind of, were there multiple variations of it? Was it Lifted from the Depths? Is that?
There we go.
Yeah.
Lifted into the Depths.
Lifted into the Depths. That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually very fortunate that I work at a print shop for my day job, and kind of I'm very familiar with like various processes. So the cover of that is letterpress and foil stamped, which is really nice. I had a local artist do the illustration based on the music, and then he kind of handmade everything, so to speak. So I have lots of these album covers that are flat, that are in my basement back here, that then I put together when someone orders one. So, and I had the vinyl pressed at Smash Plastic here in town, who are great. They do tons of everyone in Chicago is using them at this point, pretty much.
I've also used them, and I did a tour of their place, and they showed me all the machinery, and I was just like totally blown away by that whole process. But yeah, it's a little overwhelming too.
It's very cool. Teddy, you actually had a space for a little while in that same building, kind of a little practice space. I visited one time. But yeah, those guys are great. I was so happy when a pressing plant opened in Chicago, because previous to that, we had very few options here in the United States. United Record Pressing in Nashville. there's one in Rainbow Records, I think, in California. That's where I had the Absinthe record pressed. But yeah, I'd used a bunch of different places, and I was so happy to be able to go to the plant, pick up my stuff, talk to the people that were there, and like have it in my hands right from the source versus like, oh, here's the UPS guy with 250 records that are going to sit in my basement for a long time.
Think of how much you save on shipping for the the cost of all that.
They're heavy.
That's that record is definitely amazing. I was listening to it this morning.
Thank you.
I think that the thing that impressed me the most, first of all, when you look at the amount of stuff that was used to make that record, it's a pretty decent list. Shows that you're an amazing multi instrumentalist, but you can tell all the nuances of every instrument in each track. Like you can tell when something comes up on the mix a little bit more than the other instrument. There's just so much attention to the detail in the mix, on the stereo field. It just sounds phenomenal. I might have to pick up that LP. I might have to do some gate folding for me because that thing is very very beautiful. That's a beautiful record, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as you can kind of see around me, I've got a lot of pieces of gear, and I feel like usually when I take on a larger project, I really try to see if I can use as much as possible, as long as it's relevant. There's some times where I'm like, try to put, maybe a polka drum into something and it just doesn't fit. And I've got some pretty cheesy synths in here that don't always make it into the final draft. But actually, one of the things that really changed things for me, aside from just constantly, working to get better at mixing and recording, is the drum kit back here, which is a friend of mine, Colin Morris, who is a really great musician. He's a multi-instrumentalist as well, terrific drummer, but he started having kids, and that means that all of a sudden that drum kit's taking up a lot of baby space. So he lent it to me. I have space for him. Anytime he wants to come over and track drums, he's certainly welcome to. But having the ability to have like a live kit and like either sample it or kind of mess with it in some way really elevated kind of the way I feel about composition. I always felt like kind of a fake with regards to drums, because if you're playing them on a keyboard, you're not playing like a drummer. You're not doing kind of the same you're not doing patterns that would be recognizable or possible for a drummer unless they are some sort of cyberpunk four-armed drummer. And I don't know, something about trying to make realistic drums on MIDI felt didn't feel genuine. So even if I'm playing like playing the hi-hat, recording that, playing the snare, recording that, like doing it like one drum at a time, I still at least feel like there's some of the variation and natural feel that you get out of that versus playing with MIDI, like really digging into MIDI.
Yeah, I want you to give yourself some more credit here, because when we jammed in that cabin, you busted out, and I didn't even know you had it, and all of a sudden it appeared. I'm like, oh, Josh has more things that he's pulling out of cases. Like, this is epic. But what was that thing I don't know if you were using mallets on it, or it was like almost like a steel drum or something. Like,
it's the Korg wave drum. Yeah.
Okay,
and it's really, I love that thing. And I had watched so many videos, and actually I had visited Sweetwater down in Fort Wayne to just play one in real life before I bought it, because I was like, how do you get like more natural drum sounds? At the time I was doing like live music yoga, so there was this like need for me to get some more natural feel for like kind of bongos, tabla type drums. And the great thing about that, even though you can't like load your own samples into the wave drum, it has like 5 or maybe 7 different sensors in it. It has a real drum head. And so there is a difference if you play it with your hand versus a mallet versus a brush. And where you hit the drum head, you can pitch bend by palm muting the drum and pressing it. It's such a live piece of digital gear that again, yeah, that really changed kind of my feel for getting realistic drums into mixes.
Well, you actually get to strike and hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really miss out on that if you are playing, coming from a keyboardist is just like, yeah, you can do velocity sensitive drums with your keys, but something about like the different way you even hold a mallet or hold a drumstick changes the dynamic of the whole thing. That's really great.
Yeah, it's a human element when it comes to drumming, right? And to any instrument, really. Like even like if you play guitar, if you play a C, like if all four of us hold a guitar and play a C, they'll never be the same.
Yeah.
Just because there's the human element, the speed between like strumming and all that stuff applies to any instrument that has a physicality to it.
It's definitely different than pressing a button and like turning a knob, and which those are all fun things to do to see how extreme things can get when you're like flipping switches and turning knobs and pressing buttons. But yeah, there's an emotional connection.
Well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the setup that I had when you first saw me, Teddy, was 2 keyboards. It was the mini log and then a Yamaha Reface CP, and then 2 pedals, which was the Electro Harmonix Memory Man, which is just a fantastic pedal for everyone, anywhere, ever. And then the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master, which is kind of a nice like analog delay style. And
is that the one with the telephone on it?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just making sure.
Yeah, you got it. And what you can do with, the music I was doing for Jessica Ritzker is really very minimal, subtle kind of space shaping. I don't play a lot of notes, but everything is played very intentionally. And using those pedals to kind of create this like sonic bed for what is ultimately singer-songwriter / kind of folky music really sort of elevated it. But that sort of thing taught me like you can ride the cutoff of the MIDI log playing a pad along with guitar, and there really is a subtlety to it that you never get if you're automating it. You have to be playing it live with the other person and getting that feel, because it changes the dynamic of it completely.
Well, you would make that synthesizer at that show. I mean, this is one of the main reasons I was kind of blown away by it, because at that time my like primary synthesizer was I was using a K-Oscillator Pro Plus with like a weird MIDI cable and like a Arturia key step, and like that was the main synth. And there's no parameters on that. You can't like tune or use cutoffs or any filter. There's nothing like that. It's just like I'm holding this note and this is what the note is, and like that was it. And so to kind of hear the subtleties that you were able to kind of lay, almost this kind of like bed for someone to kind of lay on and relax and listen to Jessica's guitar playing and singing, not only was that really enjoyable, and I had never really heard a synth applied that way, but I don't think I had ever heard the combination of this kind of acoustic, this really like gentle, delicate, but really meaningful, beautiful kind of guitar playing and singing, then accompanied by this very warm, lush synth. And the balance was so great. And I'm going to be I don't even remember who you guys were playing with that night, and I don't want to do them any disservice by saying I don't remember them. But I don't remember who you were playing with that night because you stole the show from me. And like as the other band was playing, all I kept on doing, I was like, I want this set to be over so I can go find that dude that fucking played that set and like go pick his brain about what he was doing. I was like tapping my toe like this anxious
Give him a hug.
Yeah,
That's right.
No, it was so cool. But I mean, and I would say, in the few things that we've talked about, as far as like your projects, I mean, we maybe scratched the tip of the iceberg, not even the tip of the iceberg. We might see the iceberg from like, or just maybe consider that there's an iceberg beneath the water somewhere, and maybe the tip will come out at some point. But right, like as far as your projects, and I love also that you have a website that has these all organized, and like I had known you had done a bunch of different things, but then I went to your website, JoshuaWentz.com. and my brain just kind of like melted. I was like, dude, this guy just you work, man. You put work in. You are putting things out. You at one time didn't you have a record label that you were
Yeah.
running as well?
Yeah, I did. Around 2008, I really kind of got into the uh, wanting to have physical media again aspect of things, because so many people were putting things out on. It wasn't even Bandcamp really at the time. It must have been like there was a place called Verb, VIRB, and SoundCloud and stuff like that. And there was this feeling of I downloaded things constantly from places where people would put their albums up, and I had these zip files, just zip files everywhere. And did I listen to that? No, I didn't. There was no intention behind it. I would just indiscriminately download as much things as I could, and sometimes I would open them up again. Sometimes I would find things and be like, "Oh, that's cool," and have no idea where they came from. And I kind of just retreated from that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna buy any more digital stuff. I'm gonna if an artist has physical media, I will buy it, so that I can kind of have that. I can sit down and listen to it. So at the same time, there was, I don't know if you guys know the RPM challenge or FOM, February Artist or Album Writing Month, right? I was kind of playing with doing things with RPM since like 2007, and I really thought people had these amazing albums, and there was no like presentation to it. It was no like, here it is, and it's just a pack of MP3s online with like a 400 square pixel art. And I was like, what if I could tell those people, hey, I will produce an actual like CD, I will screen print or letterpress like CD covers, and we can sell them, and you still keep all your rights. I basically keep like the right to sell 500 copies of the album or whatever. And I kind of stuck to solo home recording artists, because then I could pay them and not feel like, like when you're in a 5-piece band and you get your $40 at the end of the night, it's like, cool, I spent 4 times as much on beer. So I was like, if I do solo artists on my label, then I can give them the most money for their work and their effort. And I can give them a final product. I get to design cool album art, and they get to have a physical product that they can sell at shows and stuff like that. So yeah, for about maybe 3 or so years, I did that with like maybe like the max 4 albums a year. So I could really just kind of concentrate on one person at a time and make it happen, which was really fun. But this was also the switch over to kind of like people not having disk drives anymore in computers. And we hadn't yet gotten to a place where vinyl was even remotely affordable for people. And I don't even know if cassettes were a thing at that point. So it was right in the perfect spot for no one to like have access to playing physical media, except for me. But I loved it. I do love it. I think about having a label constantly. I want to do it again. I love designing album art, and I love giving like so many artists that like work hard on their music something to hold in their hands and say like, I did this. This is the record of the project, versus just throwing it up on Bandcamp with DistroKid and being like, yep, if I ever stop paying the $7 a month, then it goes away forever.
Well, yeah, speaking of like, sorry, Phil, just really quick, I was talking about like just having zip files and all that. Like I've always been a hoarder of MP3s, and having like hard drives and having like, you mentioned that service, Verb, but I remember one, Pure Volume, back in like, I think they went defunct in like 2009 or something. Like, and even like MySpace was a huge place for bands to promote their music and artists to record at their home and put music up on MySpace and all that. I did a bunch of that. And then like all of that is gone. And that was, I think, the first click. I'm like, I've always bought CDs, but like, no, I need to actually like collect music that I love so I don't forget it exists. I think That's like the main point. I think like the main reason why I collect vinyl is that I don't want to forget about an artist that I love. So yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah,
Phil, what were you
Lime.
gonna say?
I saw your thing in the chat about LimeWire. I also was like a Napster guy back in the day, and I had like Winamp and all
Oh,
that.
sure.
Oh yeah.
And I remember
Amp was the way to play your MP3s on your PC. You could skin
Totally.
it in all sorts of different cool skins.
then, like
Yeah.
Lars really fucked it up, and I love Lars, but like, yeah, I don't know. And then like I also like delivered pizzas for a while, like when I met my wife, and I had like one of those. Maybe you guys had this, but like a huge folder of CDs that
Oh,
was
sure.
yeah.
Case Logic.
yeah.
Or
Gotta
the
have-
one on your visor in your car.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, hell yeah. I got Summer Mix 2005 just ready to rock, dude. Panic at the Disco's on there, dude. Track number 1, dude. Track number 1, dude.
There's really you really miss out on. I feel like, I hate to be like the old guy, the kids these days. Some of the best albums I have are from Dollar Bin and St. Mark's in New York, or the campus CD store, or Half Price Books. You just pick something up based on the album art. It's amazing. There's this band, I don't even know where they're from. It's called Binger the Voyager, and I don't know if anyone else knows about them in the world, but I found this CD. It looked cool, and it's incredible. And I never would have given it the attention if it had just been floating across my Discovery playlist or whatever.
That's so real.
Let's let this be the first Etherwaves challenge to our viewers. What is it called? Binger
the Voyager.
Voyager. So we challenge our listeners and viewers. Do you know them?
I'd like to hear it.
That's the line, yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Speaking
should
of-
we
yeah.
dive into some tunes?
I was gonna say, speaking of musicians not known, should I play a set?
We can all do
Yeah,
that.
I say we dive into some tunes. And Josh, you're gonna throw down first for us tonight, yeah?
I'll do it.
All right, hell
Guest
yeah.
spot.
Let's do it. So Joshua Wentz, guest spot. Happy
Cool.
to have him here. He's gonna throw down a set for us. Let's go for it.
All right. Doing a shot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Get back over here.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Get back, Loretta.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Holy shit.
So rad.
I got so many questions.
Excellent.
And so first off, you showed me the device that you're sitting in front of when I was over at your place, the little guy. Yeah, that's the organelle critter in Guitari.
You got it.
What do you got loaded on there right now?
This I was using. This actually I downloaded a couple days ago, and I loved it. It's the patch is called Euclidean Rhythm, and it's got loaded in drum samples from an artist. What's her name? I'll have to look that up actually if I have my phone on me. Actually just found this out today that this was who did the drum samples, and I ordered her album on vinyl. The album is called Acts of Rebellion, and it's Ella minus. And I just loved it. It's really cool because it allows you to pick kind of where in a pattern of 16 steps the drum sample starts, and then kind of how many pieces of that sample get played per pass. So it allows you to kind of have these really, and then it has a cutoff, so you can have like shorter little clips of it or the full sample. So it's this really kind of natural for sort of vibe. And unfortunately, with Critter and Guitari, I have the pocket piano and the organelle, and in both instances, I bought it before they implemented MIDI. So I do not have it like synced up with everything. So I'm just kind of like hoping that it's 86 beats per minute equals the 86 beats per minute of everything else. But yeah, I love the organelle. I don't use it enough because it's definitely kind of it's very chaotic, and I don't really produce a lot of chaotic music, but when I get into it, I super get into it because it's just got so many different features, and there's a really great community of people that build patches for it, and I love finding things like that. So yeah, the Euclidean Rhythm.
We welcome glitches on this show. I mean, this is about producing music live, and you did such a fantastic job of incorporating so many different elements. And like Teddy said, I have so many questions, but like just one observation is that you just put me in a zone, and I think there's so many things I loved, but like one thing that stood out so much was that like bass line, because it had, Igor and I were chatting about this, and Teddy, like this woody upright bass sound, and it sounded so good and like real. I mean,
yeah, that's the Vox Continental reissue actually, that Korg and Vox put out a couple years ago. It's amazing. It's like my favorite keyboard that I probably own at this point. It's got all of the Vox organ sounds. It's got two other organs, and then a bunch of electric pianos, regular pianos, and tons of other samples in there. It's got an EQ. It's got drawbars, digital drawbars, and so many just like effects and patches that you can really manipulate. So yeah, that upright bass was actually an update to their newest firmware, sometime last year. But yeah, they added a bunch of basses, and that upright just has a nice feel to it. It's like really, really realistic.
As a bassist, I approve.
Hey, all right.
No, yeah, it sounded great. And actually, good thing that you mentioned the organ, because I think that the organ tone was that perfect. Like, it's not too harsh, it's not too big on the highs. It's just like sits warm and comfortable.
Yeah.
Down like in the center skew to the high. It just felt so good. I love that organ tone. I think everything tonally sounded amazing. The music is amazing. The composition is amazing. But the tones just sounded right all over the place. And this is over Zoom. I cannot wait until I hear the real thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about they really kind of lovingly recreated the Vox in that keyboard. And having the drawbars and being able to kind of manipulate that. And it has, I didn't really use it, but it has like a rotor and a pitch bend and stuff. So you can really kind of get into it. I think you can even get like bass pedals for like a bass pedal
sweet.
add-on as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
like kind of the organ based pedals.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
I've,
I wish I was cooler and I knew how to use that. I have like an old swinger over on the side here that you can't see, but I can maybe make two notes happen. Like, you know, I'll play this note and I play that note. But like seeing an actual organ player play organ is like next level.
Yeah, speaking of bass pedals, like my dream gear is the Taurus with a, with
Yes.
I guess like what a full octave, right, of bass pedals. That thing is beautiful.
I think
That's
I've
like
seen
my
like
ultimate
Getty
goal.
play that.
Who plays that?
Geddy Lee. I think
Oh, yeah.
he's played that a few times when he's playing synth and bass at the same time.
Yeah, the Motor is incredible. It's not cheap. It's like $6,000.
I know. I like cheap shit.
Damn.
Yeah, but you can get that just the pedals as a MIDI device, and that's I think
Right.
it's like $350. So it's not like the end of the world if you want to do that.
Yeah, there's some great organ VSTs out there as well. I use Piano Tech for like my piano VST in Logic because it has so many like manipulations and different piano styles. And I haven't really delved into the organ section of that, but I've been really playing with like this guy for organ.
I was gonna say one thing that I found really refreshing, and I think we've all kind of like ebbed and flowed in and out of this, but I think as like electronic musicians, kind of all at different points in our kind of progress, and just musicians at all different places in our performance, I think you can kind of show up to the performance with things kind of pre-made that you're going to kind of like fade in and out and kind of trigger and stuff like that. Or you can do, at the other end of the spectrum, like kind of organic generation of everything kind of on the spot and live. And you can do kind of somewhere in the middle of that spectrum too. And I think I'm still kind of in the space, obviously I have no keyboard interface, and I also don't know how to really play any melodic instrument. I'm kind of still in the more like canned, like pre-programmed kind of thing with like slight playability. But I think that's why I'm always, just anytime I've jammed with you or seen you perform, even that like little house show where you and Jess played, it was like above like an Ethiopian restaurant. Just seeing it was like a DIY venue here in Chicago. But like anytime I see you play, I think the thing that always kind of like inspires me is this, you just bring this very like adaptive, fluid, kind of water-like, like Bruce Lee be water, kind of characteristic to your performances. And tonight was no different. It was, there were some elements where the drums pre-programmed on the Volca.
I just used a basic kind of patch for the Volca just to keep me in tempo.
Other than that, you were live creating a lot of the loops that were happening, yes?
Yeah, pretty much everything else was improv. I really love improvisation, and I did a quick rehearsal and figured out kind of like generally what key I want to be in, so I don't like mess with that too much. But other than that, I just really enjoy, seeing what happens. I'm rarely sequence things when I'm doing stuff like this, because I just don't think that way. I think as a piano player most of all. And then when I do like certain types of live sets, like the non-Jess stuff where I'm doing like the brash flare, more like trip hoppy things.
Yeah.
So much of that stuff is written in the box that then when I try to take it out again, I'm sampling like tons of stuff on the Electribe because I'm trying to get that same sound or the same vibe, or an MPC. I have an MPC 500 that I use to like program things. And sometimes in that case where, there's a point where you're almost doing karaoke if you're sampling and sequencing and programming too much. So finding that balance for me is really kind of where I enjoy live performance. Having some things set up where you know where you want to be, but then allowing for that something to go long or something to go wrong is the best part. Like making something sound crazy. Like, in your episode 3 thing where you said like all your shit went out the window and you just like pulled it completely out of your ass. That's great. It's so much fun to see that happen because you really get to see a performance, and And that's why I go to electronic shows. I want to see someone do something, and I want to see how they react. I think I saw there's a record store called Transistor here in town. It's had like 4 or 5 different incarnations, and I saw someone play a modular along with a drummer, and the modular was it was like a huge setup. I don't even know what he had, but it was going wrong. Like everything was not working. He was frustrated as hell, but it was like the most engaging performance I've ever seen on a modular, because it's just like you could see he was trying to tame the beast, and it was awesome to watch. And the music at the end of the night, he might have been like, this was like the worst set I ever had. But for me in the audience, I was like, I saw you try this. I saw you try to make it happen, and that was super cool.
I love the rhyming in the phrase you said at the beginning of this segment, where you said, I love watching performances where something could either go long or go wrong. And just the fact that rhymed, it's like, yes.
That's the Malort talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Well, great set.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Just amazing job. Yeah.
Who's next for tonight? Who's down to throw some more tunes down?
I think I'm going next, but at full disclaimer, I do not have the Malort bump.
Uh-oh.
If I had known that other people had Malort tonight, I would have brought my own.
I was inspired, man. I got this as a housewarming gift when I moved into my new home here in Chicago, and I saw Josh had a shot. So before my set, I'll do one. I'll carry you on my back there, Phil. I'll do one for the both of us.
You might not have the Malort bump, but I have to say I have this tape. You probably can't see the writing on it. It says KS Modular House. This is from the kayak session we did in that cabin when everyone else went for a walk and you were just fucking around. And I was like, I'm going to put a mic up to that, your amp, and just record a full tape worth of whatever you were doing so I can mess around with that. So I use this tape like just if I want to like go to a place I can't go because I don't think the same way. And so, yeah, I have that. This is for you. Awesome.
Whoa.
It's interesting. I want to immediately, like, this weekend drive over to the Montrose Beach and just like film the current sand/snow dunes and like a frozen lake and just like put that soundtrack over top of it.
Yes. Yes.
I'll take that.
Yeah, it was very cinematic. It was very moody. Like it takes you places. Everything was just like it just worked so well. Every sound choice and every no choice sound choice environment that you created, everything sounded so carefully thought out that I couldn't help but just like you transported me somewhere.
Thanks.
There's an author named Jeff Vandemeer who he put out there's a movie made on one of his books. I think it was called like the book series is called, I can't remember what this book series is called, but he put
Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that series of books is called that's from, but
I can't either.
Annihilation. There's a book it was a movie recently, but he had another series of books called like the Ambergris series. That one of my favorite books is called Finch, and Finch had a soundtrack that came with it, running along this theme. And the soundtrack for Finch was made by the band Murder by Death. And Jeff Vandemeer listened to their music while writing this book and, told them about that. So they wrote songs to kind of describe different scenes in that book that you could like listen to when you're in certain realms. But I think the song that was missing from that soundtrack for the fungal noir sci-fi book Finch was what Phil just performed there. The cemetery scene where these fungal people and the real people are kind of coexisting, and it's this dark, eerie, dangerous place that's like wet and misty and just brooding with tension and just intense fuckery is like I like.
So wait,
you go ahead.
Are there actual finches involved here, like the bird?
The detective's name, if I recall correctly, is Finch, is his name. I can't remember. I wasn't that into birds back then, so I can't remember if there was any symbolism in that book. But I need to give that a reread as well as the other books in that series. And I will.
Now
listen.
you're a big bird guy.
Oh yeah, big bird guy now. Love birds.
As you play Wingspan.
Oh yeah, Wingspan. Great.
Yeah,
great
I think
game.
environment was a great descriptor that you had for that. I was really kind of captivated by kind of the amount of space you left with the sustain of each instrument. That's a grandmother, right? On the one side.
Yeah, the right hand. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the ability, the way you set it up, where you can kind of have this note play and start dying out, and then be building up with the other side of that, and letting it sit. That's something that I always kind of struggle with. I'm a space filler, so it's always yes, Al Capistan,
Yep.
Nice choice. But yeah, I love that. That's something I really liked, is like you let something start to like lose that tail before you brought something else in, which was really nice.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Phil, can you tell us a little bit about how you're patched tonight and what was driving some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a keyboardist by any means, but I love the keyboard, and I wanted to have, the grandmother is a mono synth. It has one voice at a time, and obviously I can't afford the fancy Moog 1 or whatever and have polysynth thing going on. So I hooked up the key step through Elements, which I've been just like the mutable instruments Elements. I've been playing that in a lot of these patches on this show, and So that was playing the low voice on the left hand, and that's running through favorite reverb module, the Desmodus Versio by Noise Engineering, and I love those guys. And then yeah, there's some like different colors of noise from Quantum Rainbow, and some other delays and whatnot, and some LFOs going on. Able to do some knob turning on the grandmother with the LFO, and
Yeah, that was a part that I noticed. And are you modulating an LFO to get that kind of like sped up and down? That's why you did that with that turn. Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
that was amazing. As an LFO lover, that was amazing.
Phil, did you tweak the big knob on the grandmother? A couple episodes ago, you were talking about how the grandmother has a big knob to turn, similar to my my cutoff knob on the modals.
The filter cutoff, and I just slightly turned it at the beginning, but no, I didn't actually like do anything with that.
You resisted the big knob urge.
Correct, yeah.
How do you feel about the grandmother has a spring reverb in it, right?
Oh yeah, and it's at about 7 right now.
Yeah,
so.
that sound is really nice.
Yeah, it's an actual spring, so you can actually kind of hear it. It's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get some, to your point earlier about like long drawn out sounds. Like that's really what I was going for on this. And I forget, I'd seen like a video on YouTube, and I wish I could remember the name of the person who made this video, but it was like using the Moog grandmother and going with like different reverbs and just like going through and like playing really slow patterns and just kind of thinking around, and it was really cool. So I was kind of like inspired by that, and
nice.
I'll think of his name later, but really
put
cool.
it in the chat.
Yeah.
So, Phil, if you hit the grandmother, can you hear the actual like spring reverb or the actual spring hit?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll be punching the hell out of my grandmother.
Yeah, there was I think last year, the drum and bass artist London Electricity came out with an album, and there's one track, I don't remember the name, but it just has like the nastiest spring reverb on it, and you can tell he just was like and just like let that thing just go. It's so cool. It's really nice to have that in like what is almost always like a super in the box genre.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Isn't that
Actually, there's a lot of like creativity now brewing in that techno community. I think you just first of all, a lot of techno people do use modular, and there's been a lot of innovation in modular. Like I think in electronic devices as a whole. So I think people are exploring more within that genre. But I think there's just been like a saturation of similar sounds, and you get like just like these amazing artists that are just trying to create something new within that box, and I dig that shit a lot.
By the way, the video I was thinking of is made by a guy who's made a ton of really great videos, and his name, or he goes by Once Upon a Synth, and I highly recommend.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
I was going to say King Tubby. The recording, isn't he like famous for like the slamming of the spring reverb and getting that like that typical like dub kind of like shot.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
As well, like he's the delay guy. King Tubby's
dude, I could go for some King Tubby, some like do boom 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 wah ka ka Le Tubby, dude.
There we go.
Well, Phil, you've built this anticipation. You've gotten everybody on the edge of their seats.
Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, I had my cell phone next to my rig here, and I pressed stopwatch, and I stopped at 5 minutes. I was like, I am not going over 5.
What? Wait, really? Is that only 5 minutes?
That was 5 minutes. I am.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Legs on this episode.
Dude, nice. Stop rejecting Daddy Longlegs. I like Daddy Longlegs, especially when Phil is Daddy Longlegs. It's enjoyable. I get it though. I get it. The constraints.
No, we're not. We're in a place of no constraints. I know people like. I don't know if you guys mentioned. Did you guys mention Song Exploder a couple episodes back? Like, I can't remember. I don't know if do you know that podcast?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the concept. I hate the execution because you have an artist in the room. You have probably an hour plus long conversation with them about a single song and how they went through it, and you just chop, 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 chop into a 17-minute long podcast, and it drives me nuts. There's no reason that this podcast needs to be 20 minutes. Or, hey, have a 3-hour long podcast. If someone doesn't want to listen to it, they don't have to. But if you want to get the content for God's sake.
Yeah. How's the Netflix show?
It's okay. I really liked the Trent Reznor episode. He did Hurt. It was great, and he really talks about not only the genesis of the song, but like his mental state at the time, and also actual techniques he used. The REM Losing My Religion one is also really good, but
Sweet.
I haven't delved into the whole thing because I'm like, I've heard the Dua Lipa episode is good. I'm gonna reserve judgment,
awesome.
but yeah, I don't know her well enough to be like, I want to hear what she has to say. But now I probably will. I'll check them all out, of course.
I'm a big pop guy. Like, I'm not I want to hear what's going on in pop, and I want to like use some of those like changes that happen in pop to do weird music with.
Absolutely.
And I think Dua Lipa is on there. Like, of course, like people talk about Billie Eilish being like the different outcasts and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of good pop music. And right before you jumped on, I was listening to the good old Taylor Swift on cassette. So,
one of the best concerts I've ever been to was Robin and Röyksopp. Just such a great combination, like that pop awesome. And then like electronic pop together is fantastic.
Yeah, Röyksopp is amazing.
Yeah.
Teddy, do we want to share some tunes?
Nah, I'm good. All right, let's do this. Let's do it.
Yep.
Glad Josh is here. Here's some alert. Ooh.
What?
OM.
God damn.
Wow.
Yes, Teddy.
Shit. Teddy. In the past year, I have missed playing out a few times. But like seriously, like I haven't given a shit that much until just now. I just want to hear that fucking in a club. I just want to hear that. I want to hear that at the Hideout. I want to hear that at
Oh, yeah.
Sheila's. I just want to hear over a huge PA distorting the shit out of that sound, and I just want to be up in it.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Hideout would be a great place.
If the intent was to make us dance, you would definitely surpass that goal. So yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was
Fuck yeah.
By the way, I don't know if I've not noticed it in the past, but like I saw that. I think that's a picture of your dad on the right side of your setup.
Yeah. This is Richard Eugene Schreischun.
Okay.
That's my dad. Yeah, and let me. It's not within reach. I have a. Long story short, I have a lyric book that my dad took every song he ever wrote, every lyric, every chord progression, and for Christmas a couple years ago, he made a binder, a book. And this picture was his school picture. He was a school psychologist for like 30 plus years. And this was a school photo that he took, and he taped it on there with this sparkly tape. And he gave me a book that has every single song and poem that he's ever written in his entire life, printed out with little notes that he like Xerox copied on there. Instead of taping it, he Xerox copied the note on there. And,
Amazing.
Yeah, and so I use that sometimes for inspiration. We also played one of his songs, or had lyrics from one of his songs read at our wedding, because it was a song that he wrote for my mom for their wedding.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Also, then who is the flower? I couldn't.
Okay. She's going to kill me for this, but this is my wife. And this is Jess.
I think so.
This is Jess. I'll show you. This is a little craft that she made. I don't know how old she was.
Wrong camera. Bring in. There she is. Yes.
Look at that. That's her
Awesome.
in front of a globe. Yeah. So those are two of my biggest musical inspirations. They live by me here on my rig in different places, and yeah, just I feel like I'm like hanging out with them when I'm hanging out with you guys. So yeah. Thank you for asking about
So
that.
sorry I took it away from the beautiful music you just played, but like I just wanted to mention that because like we are connecting with people here, and that's one of the things I love about you and your bringing of people together, and that music brought us all together, I think, and like Josh said, like
Absolutely.
in the club, obviously, like I'm totally with you. I want to be up in it or whatever you said, like
That's what I said.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this may be just like a little bit of like pure talk, whatever, like alcohol hitting. But I think that like I have a very serious problem of over analyzing music when I listen to music. Like I want to hear notes and like think about the rhythms, think about complexity and what's going on in the music. And this time, Teddy, for you, that was the track that made me let go and say, I don't care about theory, I don't care about production, I don't care about anything. I just want to move, I just want to listen, I just want to chill and not care about how. I just want to be in that moment, be in that space. So that was the track that from all the episodes of this podcast that let me go from production, let me go from process, and just like put me in the moment.
Yeah, just have fun with it, man. Like, dude, I was jonesing for some Four on the Floor after your set last episode. In episode 4, you talked a little bit about the Euro Four on the Floor, and I was like, you know what, like, dude, when I'm like drunk and I'm just feeling good, and there's just this like boom, 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 like, dude, I just want to boogie. I just want to like cut loose to it. I want to just jump as high as I can, and then like get as low as I can, and do push-ups and run laps, on the dance floor, like, and so that was, I was envisioning an anthem to play the day all Etherwaves affiliates can be in one room together, guests and everybody, and that I just wanted there to just be this song where it's just like, let's just fucking party and rage. And I also had to kind of counteract, like last week's song was really nice, but I was coming from this kind of release of kind of like difficult time and like kind of like struggling through something and kind of the plot arc in that, and so this week I just wanted to be like, yeah, I'm there, like I said, everything's good, do, like I'm ready to go, ready to party, and yeah, and I don't know, I didn't really know where I was going with that. The Noodler makes that really easy because you can just say like, all right, like I'm in this key, I'm playing these types of chords, and just fucking program a dope beat and drop some shit in and out and just dance. And that was kind of what I was going for. So
Teddy, if I may, like to thread some conversational topics here, like when Josh was talking about his love for improvisation, like it seems like you didn't have to do a terrible amount of preparation because you already have like these skills in this lifetime of, you said you've been playing music since the mid 90s, Josh. And I don't know about you, Teddy. I did like a little bit of prep yesterday, just like getting the sounds that I wanted to get. But I'm just very curious, like how much time did you spend prepping to get like where you wanted to be so that you were ready for tonight?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a hard question to answer directly because I think one of the things I've learned as far as my like writing process is I'm a big like fan of sound design, and not necessarily in the way that, and I'm not trying to say like I'm unique in any way in this. It's just like the way my brain works is just sit down and like let an instrument speak to you and just fuck around on that thing for a bit and then save it as a preset. And if I don't ever use it again, who gives a shit? Like the experience that night was I'm going to pour myself a glass of whiskey and I'm just going to sit with the Cobalt 8 and I'm just going to like design a thing. And like, who knows if I'll ever use it? I'm not trying to make a song. I'm just going to design a thing. And so the Cobalt 8, the really warm pad that came in on that, that was something that I like cooked up like a couple weeks ago that I was just like, you know what, fuck it, let me check this patch out and see if it works here. And to be honest, when I slowed everything down to 30 BPM at the end there,
which was amazing,
I'm actually working on sending these chord progressions out to make a drone kind of like ambient 10 to 20 minute long piece with a couple musical friends of mine, some common friends of mine and Phil's, bassist of ours named Ben Doss, and then our pianist friend out in Denver, Brian Pavlov, and then a buddy of mine that the guys in kayaks here know, from the kayak trip know, Danny. And so like I've sent them kind of like a snippet of this like little ambient part that I'm making at 20 BPM with that chord progression, and or with those chord progressions, but no drums or anything. And I was just kind of like, all right, so if I'm going to take this really slow, and I had been working on that ambient piece for a bit, like for a couple weeks now, and I was like, if I'm going to take this really slow, there's got to be a B-side where it's like a fucking club hit. Which, why the fuck not? So
are you double dipping? I am.
I'm double dipping. And but then the drum beat, I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to speed this up to 130 BPM opposed to the 20 BPM, then this thing needs a fucking drum beat that kicks, that I can like drop some shit out. And then I was like, and how am I going to start this weird ambient piece that's cranked up to 30 BPM? Let's just get a fucking weird female sample going, like, and like throw some fuzz on it. And I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Just, yeah. So to answer your question, I have no clue. It's like an hour here, an hour there. I would say to kind of like compose how I wanted to do it, it was maybe 2 hours once I decided on the things that I wanted to like throw together. And then and then kind of I practiced it like 2 or 3 times just to like make sure I knew when I wanted to drop shit in and out. But there was not a lot of prep in there. I didn't really know how I wanted to go from the different chords and stuff. But
yeah, I really like that way of doing things. Several of the tracks on my album, the LP that we were talking about earlier, use little snippets of things that me and my collaborator Kristen Johnston from my like Brash Flare trip hop kind of project just sat in the studio, did some stuff. I recorded it, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of just nonsense, but you find a little piece in there that's just different and nothing you would sit down and make, and you just kind of let it happen, and then you're like, oh, that's a kernel of something that I can then make into a larger piece. So I think on the LP I have like 3 kind of 2.5 minute instrumental tracks, and I think 2 of them are based off of a little piece that we made together that I just was like, this is cool, but it's not a song, but it can be part of a song. And what you did was just so overwhelmingly positive, and like I've never been like a club kid. I'm not like a person that goes out and does like, I've been to like maybe like 2 raves in my life, but there was a time when I was in college that I was traveling around Europe for 10.5 weeks, and I was in Barcelona, and I was traveling with my, as of maybe 2 weeks before the trip, ex-girlfriend and her roommate. Cool situation. And I was just getting like sick of them. And I was in Barcelona, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going out. And I just walked down to the beach, and there was like this 4-story kind of like club. I was like, I'm going in there. And I had like the best time of my life because I was just like alone. No one knew, I didn't know anyone. No one knew me. They were playing music I'd never heard before. And I was just like, I am the most uninhibited I've ever been. And I felt it.
yes,
Tonight.
Yes.
Sitting here. It was great.
Can I just quickly add one small detail about Barcelona?
Absolutely.
Barcelona.
I've been there once, and I loved it. The food's amazing, and there's so many amazing things about Barcelona. But I was there, and I don't know like if I was in a cafe or a restaurant, whatever. But like this song came on, and it's like this kind of 4 on the floor kind of thing, and this woman starts singing, and she says something along the lines of, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's something like, when I came to Spain and I saw people partying, I looked up at Johnny and said, what the fuck? Put me in this place of like, oh my gosh, like I'm in the...
You know what? I know exactly who that is. I need to...
Oh my God.
You guys talk about the song. I'm going to Google it because I know who does that song.
Incredible.
It's like, it's like, what the fuck? And so there's this kind of like that feeling of anonymity that you were just talking about, and people not knowing you not knowing people. Like you could just, when you were talking about Igor letting loose and like not thinking about the music and just like getting into it, like that's exactly how I felt when I heard this song. I was just like, yes, I'm in this place. Nobody cares about me. I don't care about anybody. And like, this is awesome. And this song came on, and I've never heard it before, but it's amazing. And
that's so cool.
Teddy,
yeah. I as Teddy knows, my favorite musician is Mike Oldfield.
Yes.
He's helped me on a couple on a cover, and I do a cover project every year. And when I was in that club in Barcelona, there was a band called Bramble Bee that put out a cover of a Mike Oldfield track, a dance cover, and I was just like, my mind was literally blown because I'm already like in this situation where I'm just like, screw everyone around me that I know. I want to be here in the moment. And then, in the United States, you're never going to hear a Mike Oldfield song outside of the Tubular Bells soundtrack of The Exorcist from Pure Moods or from The Exorcist. So like to have that happen in that moment where I'm just like in this place by myself, and I'm just like, huh, what the fuck? It was insane. It was like the pinnacle of that trip for me.
Wow, what an apex!
It was great.
What a connection, Mike Oldfield. Wow.
I know, the most random thing. Of course, he's huge in Spain, so it's like, no big deal to them. They're like, yeah, Mike Oldfield, he's great. Yeah, we love him. But like coming from the United States, where literally no one knows who he is almost ever, it was big for me.
Dude,
sure.
how sick would that be if you were huge in Spain, but no one else knew who you were? Like, I kind of like if there was just like one country that I was like huge in. If it was like, it's like no one in the U.S. knows of Teddy Schreischun, but in Iceland, dude, mwah, he cleans house in Iceland.
I would love it. Yeah, I'd go for that in a second.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Should we?
You see I put it in the chat. The name of the song is "Loca People" by Sac Noel.
Oh my god, I'm gonna check that out tonight.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
So nice. That's the song that my song made you think of?
Well,
the conversation made him think of it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Oh man, I mean, it's all a woven blanket at this point.
Okay. A mesh net protecting us from the sharks of winter.
Should we dive into the last set of the night?
The grand finale.
Yes.
Nice.
Help us close here, Igor.
Yeah, this is going to be the one that will put people to bed. They've been through, an hour and a half of an episode right now. Now they can mellow out and go to sleep with this track.
And if people are watching this at noon on Thursday,
go to bed.
Just kind of relax. Yeah, just take a little snooze, take a little tiger snooze.
Pandemic nap.
Power nap.
Yeah, power pandemic nap. All right, Igor, we're looking forward to it, man. And let's do it.
All right, man. Like, I know we're like working within some time constraints, but like, let's just have that go for like a half hour, man.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I
want to.
wanted to
You
do.
were saying like, I think at the beginning you were like, "This is like nap time." I was like, "That's what I want to go to sleep to." It's so
Yeah.
good. That's what I want to be in a. I think Teddy, maybe you 2 episodes ago mentioned a sensory deprivation tank or
Oh
something.
yeah.
I've never done that. I super want to just live in one for my entire life. But that's what I want to hear when I'm in it.
Oh yeah. To like zone out. That was like this like I don't know. It was like I was feeling like some like big crystal energy.
Lots of overtones. I really
yeah.
loved like just like rich like just it's when things start just like cascading over themselves. It's really nice. What are you Igor, what are you using for looping on that for your
I use
guitar?
a Ditto, the Ditto X2, I guess.
Do you find that reliable?
Not at all. That's why I make ambient music with it. So I just throw a bunch of reverb and it's immediately okay.
Yep.
And delays and stuff. So the reason why I use it the way I do is just because I have to put it before delays, before any time elements, because that thing is not to time ever.
Yeah, it's a nightmare unless you are encouraging the nightmare, which is great. I have the X4, and the first one I got was a complete piece of shit. And then they replaced it, and it works now. But yeah, everyone I know that uses the Ditto, like, hates it, you know?
Yeah, I don't mind it before everything else because the delays and like whatever the reverb I like, and that stuff's a little bit more time. It's what determines time to me.
Yeah.
It's the posting of the delays. So if I just put whatever into the Ditto, because it's going to be whatever, at least the delays help me like put some grounding to the sound. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you were the closer tonight too. Like it's already been said, like your I don't want to say sleepy time vibes because I didn't want to go to sleep, but I was so happy that you brought the guitar in and there was something in the way of newness to that, and you're also like I really like your shirt and
Not sure if you're familiar with the band.
Oh yeah, you sent me
No.
some stuff by them.
Yeah, they're my favorite band. So
there
good
was like a
stuff.
gravity to the whole process of you entering the room with that guitar, and I didn't know you were going to do that, and the guitar was black, and like you have the mystery of the pedal situation below the synth,
True.
and then you also had like a doppelganger thing going on with the conversation between the synth and the guitar, which I really loved. The like I put it in the chat, like the two Igors that were kind of conversing there and kind of going back and forth, and I really loved that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I like it. It was a fun side to play.
It makes sense that you would like that, Phil, since thematically, I think you did a similar thing. You were having a dialogue with yourself, and both of you guys really kind of nailed that vibe.
Yeah.
Very, very intricate conversations, inner dialogues for Phil between his left and right hand, his left and right brain maybe, and then between Igor, just kind of like those were some full body dialogues. Like I think one thing that was interesting in kind of watching you and hearing you, like when I would close my eyes or when I would open, kind of the difference was you were kind of standing tall playing the guitar. But then when you would go to the synth, it was almost to the keys. It was almost like you were having this like quieter conversation. Like both things were very calming and soothing, but I think just your posture, like kind of having to bend down and like tickle the ivory keys, like it kind of like, it was like, all right, he's up here and he's down here. So not only did you have these audio levels, but you had these kind of visual levels too, like intimacy with the song and with the instruments, and it was guiding, it was calming. I'm with Josh. I want another 30 minutes. In my mind, I was like, should we just edit this so like the episode just
Loops.
ends with this on loop
That's
for
just
like
the end of it.
for like an hour, and it's like this is like a 3-hour long episode then, but it's just the last hour is just like a time lapse of the oceans that Josh or the waves and snow mountains and dunes or whatever out by Lake Michigan, and just and Igor stuff playing and Phil stuff playing in the background, and great sets all around. And
Yeah.
Well, and I do want to
Fun
know,
night.
like, how much, again, like I'm going to ask you the same question that that I asked Teddy, like how much prep time went into this, or did you know what you were doing in terms of like note choices and things like that, or like did you just play?
So whatever time it took me to plug all the cables and move the keyboard from the back here was my prep time, and setting everything up in B minor. So and testing levels, like literally that was it. I did not prep at all. I knew that I wanted to do something with the Juno and guitar. So that was a mental preparation. But I did not know what notes I was going to play on the guitar, or if I was going to hit the right notes every time. Hopefully I did. But
Yeah, nothing sour in there, man.
yeah,
It was good.
I loved the fat like low notes you would hit on the guitar, like when you would be like looping, there'd be layers, and then all of a sudden, and I find that really fascinating too. With, like, I think often people think like things that register higher in frequencies are the things that are going to sing through music a lot. Like if there's a lot of lush layers, you're often like, I need some kind of like sparkly bells to kind of cut through. But I think the tone of your guitar really allowed like a baritone voice to take the lead almost at points when you would kind of go lower on the guitar, and it was very welcoming to kind of hear this this lead sound that was this kind of baritone bass, this rumble, and I think that added to that kind of like soothing element.
bass dad.
Yeah, bass dad, exactly. Bass papa brought us home. Well, I gotta just say before we wrap things up that if people have not checked out Josh Wentz's stuff, you gotta do it. JoshuaWentz.com.
Buy a record.
Dude, get his record.
It's pretty good.
It's really good. It's really, really good. It's beautiful.
Released it on March 7th of last year.
I'm doing it live. I am buying a record right now.
Awesome. I played one more show after my album release, and it was out in Joliet.
I'm from around there.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Do you
I'm
know
from Manuka.
the donut shop / bar? I can't remember the name of it right now because I've had too much Malort tonight. But I played one more show the week after I released that record, and it was so much fun. And it was like super welcoming, and everyone, like, I sold a ton of records, and everyone was super happy. And then like the next weekend was like, goodbye,
the great
world.
Pause. The great pause.
So yeah, it was like bittersweet because I had a really fun, awesome release party. I had Colin, who I'd mentioned at the beginning of this show, open for me, and then I had Jason Shanley, aka Sinchel, play for the mid, and he's amazing. If you guys haven't,
We want to have
scheduled
him
him yet.
No, we want to have him on the show.
Yeah,
I'm straight up. I don't like a lot of noise and drone music as a thing, but whatever he does is like beyond. It is so he finds the relatability in drone that I've never heard anyone do in my life. I'm fascinated by it, and I can't speak highly enough of him. He's amazing. If you ever, in the future, when we're back to reality and can go do things again, if you ever get a chance to see Sinchel play live, do it. It is, it's amazing.
Well, I think, Teddy, this goes for you too, but I saw him for the first time opening up for you at Tone Deaf Records, and I was recently at Tone Deaf, doing an in-person shopping date, pandemic style, and that was such a great show. Both of you guys were so amazing, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, he's amazing, and
on.
Tone Deaf Tony, who runs that shop in Jefferson Park, super awesome guy. He opened his store, and at the end of 2019, and then of course pandemic hit. But you can still have shopping appointments and pick up stuff at his shop, and he has a great selection. I highly recommend checking him out too.
Hell yeah! Support local record stores. Support local bookstores, libraries, the lifeblood of art and culture, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. I don't want this episode to end, but I think we have to wrap it up for time's sake. That's how it always is, though. It's how it always is when we have guests on. Like I could just hang. It makes me reminisce about times just kicking it together in person, and soon we will be able to be there someday. And but Josh, I can't thank you enough for being on, man.
Thank you for having me. And you guys, I love the show. I've been tuning in since the beginning. I'm now 4 episodes. I'll be live streaming it tomorrow with the one I'm not on. But yeah, I love it. I've been doing a few Zoom things here and there. I'm part of a songwriting club that meets like once a month now via Zoom, and I feel like people get a little fatigue with like being in front of the screen and not having that face-to-face contact. But I encourage everyone to just make the effort, do some digital face-to-face stuff when you can. It really does kind of give me energy when I do it. I love watching you guys when you're on the show, and I love being part of Zooms and anything, because while we're still in this situation where we can't meet face-to-face, this is pretty good. Yeah. It's not the best, but it's pretty good.
It's damn good. Hell yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks to all our viewers, and thanks, Josh, once again. I hope we can all 4 meet by the tree that is behind me. That's about a half mile from my front door, and we hope to hear your comments, your feedback, and any user responses, viewer responses. Send us your music, and that's all I have. How about you guys?
But yeah, just links in description for everybody and everything. And thank you, Josh. That was amazing. And we'll see you on the next one.
Indeed.
Ether.